Now, when I tell people that I moved to Morocco, the first question that they generally ask me is, why Morocco? Why did you choose Morocco? And I really wish that I had a good answer for that. I wish I could say that I had this lifelong dream to go abroad, and Morocco was this land that I worked really, really, really hard to get there. Or I wish I could say that I saw it in a movie and I was just enthralled by it and I had to get there. Or even that God told me in a dream and so I went to Morocco. But none of those are true, because when this opportunity came about, I didn't know what Morocco was. I couldn't put Morocco on a map. I couldn't even spell the word Morocco. So this all just kind of came out of the blue. So what happened was my friend, my senior year of college, she went to an international schools fair for a weekend, and she came back to school on Monday, and she had a job teaching at a school in the Middle East. So I thought, wow, that's amazing that she got a job so quickly. And the thing that enthralled me most about that was the speed at which she got the job, not necessarily moving to another country. But I talked to her about her experience at the fair. And I said, and she told me about the school she was working at, that she was so excited to go there. And she said, there was a school at the fair in Casablanca, Morocco, and I think you might be a good fit for it. And I said, okay, cool. So she sent me the director's email. I didn't even know if there were still positions available. I didn't know anything about the school, but I emailed the director and I said, hey, this friend gave me your information. I would like to learn more about your school. And she immediately sent me an email back and said, let's set up an interview. And I said, okay, cool. So she called me on the phone and asked me about 3 questions. And then she said, okay, I'm going to send you a contract. And I said, okay, cool. And so she sent me a contract and I signed on the dotted line, and that was pretty much how this all came about. Now, when I told my parents and when I told my friends at college, they didn't believe me at first. They thought I was joking or that I was making it up. And then one of my friends said, no guys, I think she's really telling the truth. Do you think she would know what Morocco was if she wasn't moving there? So they have a lot of faith in me, obviously. But that's kind of how this all came out of the blue. Before I left, I had emailed some people at the school. I had emailed some people that lived in Casablanca, and they told me some things that calmed my parents' fears. That I wouldn't have to wear a hijab, I wouldn't have to cover, that people would treat me nice when I was walking down the road. They told me the school would take care of housing and the logistics once you get there. So I thought, all right, cool. And I got on a plane and I went to Morocco. So this is a picture of me at the airport, very naive, as you can see. And this was, as Andrea said, the first time I had ever flown by myself, which I did not even realize until I got on the other side of security and thought, wait, how do I do this? So I got on a plane and went to Morocco, and I took 2 flights, one to Paris, one to Casablanca. I got off with my 4 suitcases at the airport, and about 30 seconds into landing, I thought, what have I gotten myself into? So the school administrators were picking me up at the airport, and they're not allowed to come inside the airport, so you have to leave to go meet them. So I walk out with my 4 suitcases, and immediately I am swarmed by this group of young men, and they're all yelling, taxi, 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 in my face. I have no idea that this is normal, that they're pretty harmless, so I immediately think they are all trying to kidnap me. So I take my 4 suitcases and I just start running the opposite direction. No sense of where I'm going, no sense of what I'm doing, I just start running, and I did about 2 laps around the entire airport until I found this man. His name was Adil, he worked at the school, and he looked at me and I'm crying, I haven't slept in 24 hours, I have all these suitcases with me, and he says, Jenna? And I, yes! And I ran and gave him a hug, never seen him before. He introduced me to the administrators of my school. And they gave me a big envelope filled with a little burner cell phone, a wad of Moroccan cash. They put me in a bus with a man that didn't speak any English and said, all right, see you at school on Monday, and closed the door, and off I went. I was terrified. I was just very scared. But as I lived in Morocco and as I worked in Morocco, I realized very, very quickly that there wasn't a reason to be scared and there wasn't a reason to be terrified. The people there helped me and welcomed me into their country as a foreigner and as an American, and they made me feel so at home there. And as time went on, things that were weird or abnormal became normal for me. And I learned about the culture and the people and the customs there. So this is a picture of the mosque that was across the street from my apartment. And the top of that is called a minaret. And there's an imam that sits up there and he sings the call of prayer 5 times a day. Depending on the imam that's up there, it can be a beautiful song or it can be a not so beautiful song. And it can last 30 seconds or it can last 5 minutes, whatever they're feeling that day. So every morning at 5 in the morning, the first call to prayer would go off. It was a nice little alarm clock. And I would wake up, get ready for school, and a bus would come and pick me up at 6:45 in the morning. And they took me to Bascura, which is a little town right outside of Casablanca, where I taught 2nd grade at American Academy. This is a picture of my school, American Academy Casablanca. These are some students that I taught. That was my very first class, 2nd graders. We taught all subjects, math, reading, writing, social studies, science, in English. Most of my students were Moroccan. And then I had a few international students, some from Spain or from Turkey, from China, from all over the world, but most of them were Moroccan. And most of them spoke English when they first came to me, and some did not. But I quickly learned that no matter how much English they knew or didn't know, there's always a language barrier. For example, one boy in this class, one day he brought me a piece of trash. Now, why he brought me a piece of trash, I don't know. He's an 8-year-old boy, but he brought me his piece of trash, and I said, go throw that away. And he looked at me, and his eyes got really big, and he reared back, and he chunked it across the room. And I said, why don't you just throw that trash? And he said, oh, you told me to throw it away. And I thought, okay, I did tell you to throw it away, but what I meant was go put it in the trash can. We're not going to throw it. So I learned not to say throw it away, but to say go put it in the trash can. Another time I was on a hike with a Moroccan tour guide, and I said, he said, where are you from? I said, I'm from America. And he said, America, so far, so good. And I thought, sure, okay. But there's all these little nuances and shades of meaning that we know as native English speakers, but that get lost in translation when you're speaking to people whose 2nd or 3rd or even 4th language is English. So I had some very fun experiences there. 4 boys in this class right here, they came at the very first day of school not speaking a word of English. They couldn't say, hello, my name is so-and-so. They couldn't say, I need to go to the bathroom. They didn't know what a pencil was, what paper was. They knew nothing that I was saying to them. So we get ready to go to lunch the first day, and all 4 of them immediately start running down the hallway, and I'm screaming after them, walk, walk, walk. And then I realize they have no idea what I'm saying. They don't know what, and they look at me, and then they keep running. They have no idea what I'm saying. So I said, come here, come here, come here. So I held their hands, and we made this big train, and I said, walk, walk, walk. And so all of these boys start chanting, walk, walk, walk. And so all the way down to lunch, you hear a chorus of walk, walk, walk. And for about the first 2 weeks of school, everywhere that we went would just be this chorus of people saying, walk, 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 which was fine with me as long as they were walking. But I really enjoyed my time at American Academy. The school was really helpful in my visa paperwork and getting all of my things settled. But one of my favorite things about working at that school was their celebrations. We didn't really celebrate holidays like Valentine's Day or Christmas because we were an international school and we had so many different religions and people from different places. But we did celebrate Moroccan holidays, and we celebrated them in style. This was one of my favorites. This was a shura. And I asked, I was there for about 2 months. I dyed my hair blonde, so that's why I look like that. It was a phase. So I asked them, I've been in the country for about 2 months at this point, so I asked, what is a shura? Why do we celebrate a shura? And of course, like any millennial, I Googled it. And it said, the Google told me that it was a holiday that was commemorating the martyrdom of the Prophet Muhammad's grandson. So with that, I thought, oh, this is going to be a very solemn experience. This is going to be very calm. We're going to be very respectful and peaceful. And that was not the case. It was an all-day celebration at school. We did not stay in our classroom at all. We went out to the courtyard here, and we wore jalabas. That's what I'm wearing today, the traditional Moroccan outfits. And we sang and we danced. There were drummers. There was a whole band. The students learned traditional Moroccan songs, and they sang and were waving flags. And I asked my friend, this is my friend Fatima Zara. She was my assistant in my second year classroom. And I asked her, I said, okay, why do we celebrate Ashura? What is this for? And she said, we celebrate Morocco. And I said, okay. So that's kind of, it was so funny that the differences with which they express. You know, you can go on the internet and read an article that says this is what it's for and this is why they celebrate it. But sometimes the meaning gets a little lost in translation, or people interpret it different ways. And that was the case here. And so I really enjoyed Ashura. We had cookies, we had food, it was an all-day celebration. My second graders loved it, and it was really, really fun. Another holiday that I got to celebrate was Eid. And Eid is a holiday that commemorates when Abraham was provided a ram in the bush and didn't have to sacrifice Isaac, but sacrificed the ram instead. And so they remember that with the holiday Eid. So every family, at Eid, every family gets a sheep, and they sacrifice a sheep, and then they eat it, and they spend time together all day long. And so I was invited to a friend's house, Adil, the one that picked me up from the airport. He invited me to his house with his whole entire family, and they were going to kill this sheep, and we were going to eat it, and he wanted us to come with him. So I thought, all right, you know, I'm a Southern girl. I'm from Georgia. I've been deer hunting before. I can handle, you know, a sheep being slaughtered. That'll be fine, right? Well, it was a very, very gruesome experience, as you can imagine. At first, the weeks leading up to Eid, sheep are just everywhere because every family has to sacrifice a sheep. So when we were driving to school, there would be trucks filled to the brim with sheep and a man trying to keep them all in there from falling out while they're driving down the road. There were sheep in carports. There were sheep on people's balconies in their apartment. There was sheep walking down the road and people running after them trying to catch them. One time I even saw a sheep hanging out the back of a Maserati. Not even joking. So there's just sheep everywhere. So the day that we went to celebrate Eid, my friend Adil picked us up at our apartment and he drove us to his family's house. And they are all just pulling sheep up the stairs, very reluctantly, up the stairs to the roof of the apartment building. And when we're on the roof of the apartment building, there's just kids running around and lots of families. It's like a big barbecue almost, but we're all killing sheep. And so what they do is they turn the sheep's head toward Mecca, and then they cut its throat. And I'll spare you the gory details, but let me tell you, it is not pretty. And it was I thought, we're going to have to eat this here in a few minutes, and I don't know how I feel about that. But when so once they kill the sheep, then they immediately start cleaning it, skinning it, getting it ready to prepare to cook it. So while they're skinning it and they're taking all of the guts out and all that stuff, this is Adil's grandfather. And around his shoulders, I don't know if you can see it very well, around his shoulders is the fat of the lamb that they have peeled off and put around his shoulders. And so I've been in the country for 2 months, and everything must have some cultural meaning, right? So I thought, well, I wonder why he's putting this fat, like a shawl, around him. I thought, is this some religious meaning? Is this some cultural meaning? Is it customary to put this fat on the patriarch of the family? What exactly is the purpose of this? And so I'm sitting there deliberating this, and I finally asked my friend Adil, I say, Adil, why does he have the fat on him? What does that mean? And he said, this means nothing. He's crazy. So he is just doing that for fun, apparently. Okay. But I think, so once we got all the sheep cleaned up and all of these pieces put together, they brought it down to the living room, and this is Adil's mom. And she is cooking the sheep on a little stove. That's their living room, on their living room floor, just right then and there. And the most disturbing part of this whole thing was that they took this fat shawl that the grandfather is wearing on his sweaty back and wrapped it around the meat that we were eating to flavor it up, and then just served it right there. And so I just, I ate a little bit of it, and that was it. But didn't want to get sick on that one. But their family was so kind to us and so sweet to us. We got there at about 9 in the morning, and at 10 p.m. we had tried to leave about 8 times, and they wouldn't let us leave. And finally we pried ourselves away from the door, and they made us come back the next day. They said, please come back, we'll give you more food, we'll give you meat, we'll give you all this stuff. But their hospitality and their warmth and their generosity was so amazing to me, and really made me feel welcomed and made me feel at home. And that was one of my favorite experiences in my whole time there. So moving on with our new normal day. When we were at school, we'd have school lunch, just like we do here. And we had our days where we had chicken nuggets and fries, just like every other elementary school. But then some days, the cooks would make these special Moroccan meals for us to eat at school for lunch. And we ate on trays because we're in elementary school, and that's how they eat. But these are some dishes. These are some of my favorite dishes from Morocco. So the one on the top left, that is couscous. Couscous is my favorite, and I loved couscous. And you can only have couscous on Fridays. I don't know why. I don't know the reason, but anytime I would try to order couscous or get couscous on a day that was not Friday, they would say, it's not couscous day. So you can only get that on Fridays. But it's a pile of couscous, and then there's all sorts of vegetables on top. There's potatoes, pumpkins, carrots, zucchini, squash. That green vegetable, I'm still not really sure what it is, but it's really good. That was one of my favorites. Down here on the bottom is that is camel meat and some Moroccan tea over there. And there is a big giant camel market in the middle of Casablanca. So you would walk down the road, and there's just these big open tents, and there are these giant camel heads just staring at you, waiting to be eaten, I guess. And you would go up, they have meat hanging and all sorts of things, and you would point to the part of the meat that you want. They would cut it off right there, cook it up right there. They had a little table with a little picnic tablecloth, and you would sit and eat the meat that was hanging up there. So that was some camel meat, and you would pay them about $2, and you would get all of that food. And actually, camel meat is very tasty, so if any of you are going to Morocco, you need to try the camel. And then on here, this is a dish called kefta, and kefta is a meat, and it's like lamb, and beef all mixed together, and then it has this tomato sauce, and there's a big egg in the middle of it too, and so they put all that together. Now these are all cooked in a tagine. So a tagine is a big bowl, and it has a big like pointed top on it, and they put all of the food in there and cook it kind of like we would cook a crock pot meal or something like that, but it's a one-pot dish. And traditionally, you would eat these things with bread. So they would serve bread, and you would use bread as the utensil and pick it up and eat it. So in their houses, they have couches that go all the way around their living room. And in the middle is like a big coffee table. And they put the big tagine or the big dish in the middle. Everyone would have their bread, and you just all eat out of the same pot. But since we were American, they gave us forks and silverware and different things like that because they knew that that was a little disturbing for us. But after we left school, I would get on a bus at about 4 p.m. and we would drive back to Casablanca from Buscura. Now, the crazy thing about Moroccan traffic is that, you know, in America we have rules of the road. In Morocco, they have suggestions of the road. Okay, so the rules are loosely there. And if someone, say, breaks one of these suggestions, or they perceive that someone has broken these rules, instead of calling the police or calling a traffic cop, they stop their car, get out of their car, walk up to the car that has wronged them, and yell at them, fight them, demand money from them, whatever they need to resolve their issue, and then they get back in their car and drive away. And I saw many of these interactions at this one intersection. This was an intersection that we had to pass through on our way home. And as you can see, there's not a lot of order in here. In America, we have turning lanes, right? So if you want to turn, you get your car and you put it in the turning lane, okay? And if someone's already in the turning lane, you get behind them and make a nice little line, and then when you turn, you stay in your lane. Well, in Casablanca, there were no turning lanes. There were no lanes. There's just a big, giant intersection. So their intersections were spread out to these big, almost circles. And you would turn, you would go in, every man for himself, and you would just kind of jigsaw puzzle your way through until you got to wherever you wanted to go. So as you can imagine, it took us 45 minutes to an hour to get home because we were stuck in traffic, trying to jigsaw our way out of it. And then here on the bottom, the funny thing about Casablanca was that you would see all sorts of things, right? There's buses, there's taxis, there's Maseratis, and then you look up and there's a horse on a carriage, or a donkey pulling a cart, and they're just blending in with the rest of traffic like they belong there. So you see all sorts of things when you do that. Now, when I got home from school, I would run normal errands that we would consider normal. I might go to Starbucks and get coffee. I might go to a friend's house. I might run errands that we would consider typical errands, and or I might go grocery shopping. I didn't actually go grocery shopping very much because I had a maid, but sometimes I went grocery shopping. So this is one of the grocery stores, one of the chain grocery stores there. It's called Carrefour. It's a European chain, and their grocery store is just like the ones we would have here. There's milk, eggs, cheese, meat, bread, canned goods, frozen dinners, all the things that you might see at a regular grocery store here. But the thing that's a little bit different about these grocery stores is the checkout line. Now, when I say checkout line, there is no line. So basically, there's a checkout station just like we have, and you walk up and you give your items to someone and they scan them and you pay them, just like we do. But the line is kind of non-existent. So for example, the first time I went to the Carrefour, I had my buggy full of stuff, and I'm standing there, and these people just keep walking in front of me. And they walk and they put their stuff in front of me. It's because if they determine that they have less stuff or that they need to be in front of you. They just walk right in front of you, put their stuff on, and take off. And that's very normal. But I did not know this going into the Carrefour market. So I'm standing there waiting, and they jump in front of me, and I'm like, okay, that's fine, I'll let them go. And then another person gets in front of me, and then another person, and another. And I stand there for about 45 minutes, just thinking, okay, is it customary for your elders to go first? Am I standing in the wrong line? Do I have a sign on my forehead that says break in front of me? I don't know. So I stood there for about 45 minutes. But then I realized that that's just what they do. They just don't really have lines like we might think are respectful in America. They just don't have those. And so it's kind of every man for himself. You kind of have to push yourself forward if you're ever going to check out. So not wanting to spend 3 hours at the Carrefour, when I started going there, and when I would go up to the checkout line, I start to get this athletic stance, right? And I'd make myself really wide so that nobody could get around me. Or if someone tried to come around me, I'd block them with my shopping cart. Or I would just throw my stuff at the checkout lady and get it to her before someone could break in front of me. I think when I first went there as an American, I thought, these people are so rude. They just jump in front of you in line. They have no respect for you. I was here first. I have less stuff. But it's not really a respect issue there. That's just the way that things are, and that's just the way that they do things. And living there, I learned you got to be aggressive if you're going to get what you want. So I became a little aggressive. But at the Carrefour, they sold vegetables and they sold produce. But it was kind of the well-known fact that they weren't very good produce. They were kind of overpriced. So if I wanted to get fruit or vegetables or any kind of fresh produce, I would go to the markets. So this is a picture of the markets. This one on the left, that is a fruit stand that was right outside my apartment building. And they have all sorts of seasonal fruits. So they have cherries, strawberries, grapes, avocados, bananas, anything you can imagine. And you can just get huge amounts for very, very little. During strawberry season, there's strawberry carts stacked all the way up really high, just full of these fresh, beautiful strawberries. And you can get 2 pounds of strawberries for $2. It's crazy. And so I would go to these, and I would load up on my fruits and vegetables there. On the right here is one of the open air markets. That was one of the bigger ones. And over, I don't know if you can see the little cone-shaped things. Those are spices. So if you wanted spices, or you wanted nuts, or you wanted some kind of fruit or something, you could go to these markets, and you would point to what you wanted. They bag it up for you, and they give it to you. Now, the one rule in these markets was that you never accept the first price that they give you, because nothing is marked, nothing is labeled. It doesn't say a pound of spices is $5. It's just, oh, you can give me 100 dirhams. And you have to kind of go back and forth with them. And I learned how to say in French and Arabic, I live here, and I know that this is not that much. And then they would they'd say, oh, you are a Moroccan girl, we give you good price. So, I don't know if it was actually a good price, but they convinced me. But I loved these markets, and once you went pretty frequently, you got to know the people there really well. And there was a cart right outside of my house. His name was Hassan. He had them all. And then about a year into living there, Hassan moved to another neighborhood, and I felt like I'd lost a friend. I was just so sad, and so I would walk 2 neighborhoods over so that I could get my fruit from Hassan, because he was just so sweet to me. But one of the biggest questions that I get when I talk about moving to Morocco, tell people I lived there for 2 years, and they say, did you feel safe? And I think that's a fair question, right? I'm a young American woman living by myself in a big city in a Muslim country. That's a fair question. That sounds kind of scary. It sounds like it could be a little dangerous, maybe. But the people that I met there were so kind to me and so sweet to me that I did feel safe, and I did feel welcomed. And this picture on the bottom, this is a picture picture of Muhammad, and me and my friend went on a trip to Marrakesh. And we stayed, he had a riad, which is kind of like a hotel. And we stayed at his riad. So we made this reservation. And you know, as an American, I think, okay, it's like I'm making a reservation at a hotel. You make your reservation in a hotel, you show up, you stay there for the night, you might eat some food, you do your thing, then you check out and leave. Well, Muhammad was above and beyond all of that. He called us. He said, do you need me to pick you up from the train station and bring you to the riad? And so he picked us up from the train station, brought us to the riad. He had a whole Moroccan meal waiting for us there when we got there at the riad. He took care of us. We were in Marrakesh for a weekend. And so we asked him, we said, what are the things we should do? He told us, he made a list of all the places that we should go, of all the places we should avoid, and really just went above and beyond. He dropped us off at some shops, and we were walking around. Halfway through the day, he called me on my cell phone and said, are you okay? Do you need anything? Are people bothering you? Do I need to come get you? And I just thought, this is not what a hotel owner usually does, right? Like, this is so above and beyond. When we were finished with our trip, he brought us back to the train station. He went by Starbucks for us when we were going home so that we could get some coffee before we left. But he was just so kind and so nice to us. And it wasn't that we were paying him all this money, because we didn't even really pay him that much. That is just the way that they are. They're open, they're welcoming, they want you to feel welcome. They want you to feel safe. They want you to feel like you're at home there, even if that's not your home. Because when I first moved there, I had a friend that said, Islam is not a scary thing, and I want to show you. And I thought, well, okay, I don't know about that, but that's really what I experienced there. That they're not scary, and they're not harmful, and that they really are just so open and so welcoming. Because I think a lot of times it's really easy for me to read an article on the internet, or to read up about a religion, or about something that happened, a big current event, and think that I know what these people are going to be like. I know how they're going to act. I know what they believe. I know what they're going to say to me. And more often than not, all of those were proven wrong. Because I think people are so much more complex than the labels that we assign to them. They're thinking beings, and they want what we want. And at the end of the day, we're more alike than we are different. Up here in this corner, those are just that's just a random guy that I met on the side of the road, which might sound a little dangerous, but there were goats in the tree. So me and my friend were driving down the highway, and we saw the goats in the tree. And that's it's a staple in Morocco. People love to get the picture with the goats in the trees. And so we pulled over and we ran out because we wanted to go get a picture. Well, with the language barrier, these were their goats that they were shepherding around, and with the language barrier, they thought we wanted to hold the goats, so they took them down from the tree and handed them to us. So we got a picture, just not with them in the tree. And you might be thinking, that is insane. Why would you pull over on the side of the highway and get out with this man that you don't know and take pictures of his goats? But that is just the culture that I experienced in Morocco, that they're open and they're welcome, and that they truly want foreigners to feel welcome. I had friends that would get so angry at people. They would say, when people act out in violence, they are no longer Muslim. They get rid of their right to be Muslim when they act out in violence. Because these people were they were the peaceful strand of Islam. They weren't the ones that you see on the news with the jihad and all of that stuff. They were the peaceful kind. And it made them genuinely angry when people would give them a bad reputation. Casablanca was a pretty safe city. It's a big city, so you obviously have to take precaution when you're there. I was told, hold your purse to yourself because people will come and try to snatch it when you're riding down the road, or Don't talk on your cell phone when you're walking down the road because someone will come by and just take it off of your ear. And so there were people that would do that. There's bad people everywhere. But for every person that would come and take your purse, there was about 10 people who would run down the road, chase him down, beat him up, and give you your stuff back. because they so genuinely want people to feel safe with them, and they want people to feel welcomed. And if there ever was a time that I felt unsafe, there was always people there to reassure me that they had my back, that they were going to look after me, and that they had my best interest in mind. Now, I think it's really easy for me or for some people to think that when you live abroad and you have all these experiences and you're in another country that everything is just whimsical and adventurous and wonderful all the time. And it's not, it's life. Life continues to go on, and you have the mundane things in life too. You argue with your friends, or you have problems at work, or your job's really stressful, or things that happen to us all. But at the end of my time in Morocco, I knew I was leaving. It was the last about 3 months that I was there. And every day that I would walk out of my school building, there would be a giant rainbow in the sky. Every day. And I was really sad about leaving, and I didn't really know what I was going to do next, where I was going to go next, where I was going to land. And I was just really down. And every single day I would look out in the sky, and there would just be this giant rainbow. And it was such a peace to me. It was almost this symbol of this beauty that I've experienced in this country, these people that I've met, and this experience that I've had. Those shape you, and they change you, and that they go with you to the next place, and to the next place, and to the next place. And they make you who you are. And I'm just so thankful for my time in Morocco, for the things that I experienced there, for the people that welcomed me as a foreigner. And now when I see rainbows, that's what I think of, and I'm really thankful for it.